How's it going, everyone? It is Andre Williams, and over here we talk stocks and we focus on one thing. Always protect your profits. And today we're going to be talking about Lucid. It ended up having a pullback inside of the market. And if you guys remember what I said in yesterday's video, it is very important for it to reclaim that level to 25 so it can go to 27.50. We didn't get that on the day, but as far as for this week, we got 2 more trading days. So I want to make sure you guys are prepared. I won't waste any more time. Let's jump into the agenda. If you're new to this channel, I just want to let you know we have timestamps down below inside the description. But if you're a shareholder, you're thinking about taking a position, I highly suggest you watch this full entire video. So the first thing we're going to go over is a technical analysis. We're going to be taking a look at the overall price action. We want to know support. We want to know resistance. We want to know what it looks like in the bearish case scenario and as well as in the bullish case scenario. And then we're going to go on Fintel, taking a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information. The reason why this is important because it does have an impact on the way the stock performs. And then we're going to be taking a look at the order flow distribution. We want to know the buying and the selling behavior on the retail side and as well as on the institutional side. And then when all of that is done, we'll be going into the final thoughts and as well as some more details. So let's get to it. So we're going to do a technical analysis for Lucid. Let's see how it performed on the day. So it ended up closing at $24.58, being down 1.64%. And inside of the after hours, we could see it's at $24.40 at the time of this recording. When we take a look at the range on the day, on the low, it tested $23.60, and then on the high, testing $24.77. When we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you can see we traded at 23.952 million shares, and the average volume over 10 trading days is at 33.072 million shares. So we did have below average volume on the day, and it's part of the reasons why we see a slight pullback in the stock. Now, when we take a look at our chart, which is a daily chart, you can see from the RSI down below, it is at 39.10. And then when we take a look at our moving averages here on the chart, we are below the 100-day, the 50-day, the 200-day, and as well as the 21-day EMA. So it is very clear that Lucid does continue to be in a bear market, and it's trading below all of our major moving averages. And like I was saying in the video yesterday, you want to see Lucid actually be able to have some price action above $25. We ended up seeing a high of $24.77, so I think it's very clear to know that $25 will be a psychological area for Lucid. And if it's able to get past that, that's where I was saying you're probably going to want to see some price action being above $27.50 for it to actually start looking bullish again. If it does decide to have another pullback, we did see a low of $23.60, so if it was to pull back even further, don't be shocked if you see it getting down to $22.50. And below $22.50, it starts looking fairly bearish. But there is a possibility where it could just consolidate in this particular range, but if we have any headwinds inside of the market, all I see are downsides here. So let's see if we can get above $27.50 on the bullish range, and if you are going to be trading it, just make sure you're using the right risk management, having your stop loss and so forth. So let's get into the short interest information. So we're going to take a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information for Lucid. So as we scroll down further on the page, green rows indicate new positions while red rows indicate closed positions. So when we take a look at the recent filings from March the 1st, we have Parkside Financial Bank and Trust that purchased 200 shares. And then the filings we have before that are all from the 28th, which we covered in the previous video. And another thing to bring to your attention, we could see from the graph, in which we've pointed out already, institutions have been loading up as of late. So what that means when it comes to Lucid, there's a lot of big money that's invested. Now, when we take a look at the short interest information, the off-exchange short volume ratio is at 62.03%. And then for the off-exchange short volume, it is just over 17.29 million shares. Scrolling down further on the page, the short shares availability is at 10,000, updated 29 minutes ago. And then for the short borrow fee rate, it is at 14.23%. 50%. When we take a look at the history of the short volume, we can see for the close of the 28th, it was at 58.45. And then when we take a look at the close for March 1st, which was yesterday, being at 62.03. So this shows us right away Lucid does continue to have short squeeze potential. Now let's move on to the order flow distribution. Now let's take a look at the order flow distribution for Lucid. So we see on the inflow it's at 129, and then on the outflow it's at 109. Taking a look at the breakdown, you can see on the large it was 8.20. On the medium it was 83.12, and then on the small it was 37.79. Keep in mind these numbers are in the millions. Taking a look at the outflow side, you can see on the large it was 0.88. On the medium it was 72.82, and then on the small it was 34.89. Taking a look at the large scale orders in the last 5 days, you can see for today, March the 2nd, it was actually an inflow of 7.33 million. Analyzing the numbers even further for the small scale orders that tend to represent the retail side, we had more buying than we had selling. And then when we take a look at what happened on the medium, we had more buying than we had selling. And then when we take a look at the large, which represents whales, institutions, and funds, we had more buying than we had selling, which contributed to an overall inflow day. And then when we take a look at the turnover ratio, it was at 1.46%. So this is back to being our regular range for Lucid. So what it looks like, there are many who are looking in to buy the dip, especially on the retail side and on the institutional side. And just seeing that stock pull back, hey, these are the market makers wanting to control that price action. So let's just talk about it further inside of the final thoughts, and we'll jump into it right now. So for my final thoughts for Lucid, when it comes to the price action, like I was saying previously, it needs to get above $25. If it continues to consolidate under $25 and between $23.60, then there's a possibility you can look forward to seeing another move up. As far as the dip that we're seeing in the stock, there is demand in the market because people are still buying up shares. But one thing to be aware of, if the price falls below $22.50, it starts to look very weak. So add that to your homework and as well as your due diligence. Also, when we went on Fintel, taking a look at the recent institutional ownership, we could see institutions have continued to load up on shares. Plus, on top of that, for the short interest, it does continue to have short squeeze potential. There is a lot of negative market sentiment around the stock. They did have earnings that was disappointing. So of course, they're going to be attracting a lot of short sellers. But this is going to contribute to the volatility. And this is why you want to keep an eye on this play and pay attention to those levels that I spoke about. Because if it could just trade in a range and stay consolidating, it can get very interesting. And I'm just looking at this as far as for a swing trade. And if you are thinking about getting into a swing trade position, I would make sure that you use the right risk management, especially since we are going to be going into an environment where they're going to be raising up interest rates. So when it comes to stocks like Lucid, especially growth stocks who are not profitable as of yet, those are usually the first ones on the chopping block. So you're going to notice those big time pullbacks. So if you're interested as a long-term investor, I will continue to exercise some patience. There's no need to have FOMO. There's no need to run into this play. I'm pretty sure it is going to pull back from the current price that you are seeing. Will it go back below $20? Well, you guys know that is an opportunity that I'm going to be taking advantage of. Of course, it depends on what the price action looks like. I'll never put myself in the middle of a falling knife. And like I said in my previous video, Lucid is going to be coming down to attractive prices. And that's why I always emphasize doing your homework, doing your due diligence, and finding out if this play is right for you. I also want to talk about Lucid from a value perspective. I got a comment on my last video saying, well, Dre, oh, you don't know that it's overvalued? I've been saying for the longest time on this channel that Lucid is overvalued, that the valuation is too high. So if you're looking at this from a value perspective, this is not the right stock to look at whatsoever. When you take a look at what the current price is, it's all baked in with speculation and as well as their potential to succeed in the future. So I just want to make sure I'm being very clear about that. So if you are in a value investor, you shouldn't be in this play, but I'm also going to assume you're going to be looking at the right metrics and the right stats, and you're going to be coming to that realization that this is far from a value play. But it is going to be one of those plays that sees a lot of volume and it's going to be having a lot of spikes, and for traders it provides a great opportunity. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and let's see how the stock performs going into tomorrow. We'll talk soon.